President Trump has some bad news for NPR and PBS.
Top of the morning to you. It's Kaylee on the spot. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order to eliminate federal funding for National Public Radio and the Public Broadcasting Service, two of the most prominent publicly funded media organizations in the country. The move is his latest effort to handicap an organization whose mission or viewpoint he has disagreed with. The executive order signed Thursday, entitled Ending Taxpayer Subsidy of Biased Media, ceases all direct and indirect federal funding to NPR and PBS to the maximum extent allowed by law. It requires the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to revise its funding rules to prohibit funding the two organizations. Federal funding provides about 1% of NPR's total revenue. Its 246 member institutions, which operate more than 1,300 stations, receive 8% to 10% of their funds from CPB. Federal funders account for about 15% of PBS's total revenue, roughly $1.40 per taxpayer per year. And if you're not sure what NPR and CBS is, PBR and CPS are nonprofit organizations that produce educational, culture, and news content for American audience. They have been considered pillars of American media. PBS has been around since 1967, founded in 1969. NPR was founded in 1970. NPR and PBS feel like Trump has been targeting them due to fueling partisanship and left-wing propaganda using taxpayer dollars. It also takes issue with NPR's internal political demographics and editorial choices on issues like transgender rights, the COVID-19 pandemic, and Hunter Biden.
Biden's lawyer is criticizing the new indictment.
His attorney, Abby Lowell, said in a statement last night that if Hunter's name was anything other than Biden, that none of these charges, not the gun charges or the new tax charges, would have been brought against him. Lowell accused the special counsel of, in essence, folding under Republican pressure to go after Hunter.
NPR's Ryan Lucas reporting. NPR's Ping Huang explains.
It doesn't matter how many COVID shots you've had in the past. What's important now, according to CDC, is whether you've gotten one shot of the updated vaccine that targets Omicron. That current formulation was released last August.
Trump made a social media post in April stating Republicans must defund and totally disassociate themselves from NPR and PBS, the radical left monsters. They have hurt our country so badly. The Trump administration argues that government subsidized media gives undue advantage to the left-leaning narratives and violates CPB's mandate to remain nonpartisan. They both have pushed back against the executive order. The CEO of NPR vowed to challenge the order by all means available. America's founders knew that an informed public is essential to functioning democracy, and that commitment to serve an informed public is the heart of NPR's mission. She also said in a statement that President Trump's orders to eliminate NPR and CBS is a violation of First Amendment rights, and locally owned and operated stations throughout America to produce and air programming that meets the needs of their communities. CEO of PBS have also responded. Paula emphasized the importance of public broadcasting to underserved communities and said Trump's executive orders threatens our ability to serve the American public with educational programming as we have for the last 50 plus years. The CPB also released a statement expressing deep concern about the order, warning that defunding public broadcasting could cripple local stations and reduce access to free, high-quality media, especially for low-income and rural Americans. CPB CEO Patricia pushed back on president's interference in the organization. CPB is not a federal executive agency subject to the president's authority. Congress directly authorized and funded CPB to be a private, nonprofit corporation, wholly independent of the federal government, she said in a statement. So you may ask, what happens next? Legal challenges are likely as federal law requires CPB funding to be appropriated by Congress 2 years in advance. That means changes to the 2025 funding may face legal obstacles, especially if Congress chooses to intervene. I don't have a side, but I do have a message. It's important to understand and realize the power and authority that the media has on our communities. During tough times like the panorama, the Hunter Biden, and so many other issues, transgender, migration, key issues that is important to be well informed. And the media, depending on who our president is and the funding or kickbacks that they are receiving from these companies and organizations, is why the media has been able to get away with a lot of these things for the last 50 plus years. Today's day and age is very important to be informed. And if the media is not going to do so, like how can George Soros own all of these media stations? What different category or stories are we going to get if he owns all of these stations, for example, versus if we have different media outlets, even independent outlets now, independent journalists who are informed and really pushing informed information to help the communities, especially low-income Americans in rural counties, countries, and things like that, is very important. And you all need to make sure that you are doing your research and not only just watching certain news outlets or listen to certain radio stations. It'll be different if our communities knew how to do that instead of depending on an organization like NPR and PBS, because they're not speaking the truth. A lot of people got hurt during the panorama that's not here to tell their story, but they listened to the radio station. When you go into the grocery store, you got a commercial about why you should be getting X, Y, and Z. Instead of allowing our people to do their own research, they're just pushing information on you. That is the reason why I feel like it's so dangerous, because you have no way out. You hear it over here, you hear it over there, you see it on TV, you go in the grocery store, you go in the gas station. It's constantly something being pushed. And I like what RFK is doing. He wants to stop the ads of all vaccines and medications, because again, it depends on the individual. If you haven't talked to your doctor about it, then you shouldn't be doing it. For example, I had Bell's palsy in the past, and I'm not allowed to take certain medications or certain shots due to my past medical history. Versus if I had been consumed and pressured to do those things, then I probably wouldn't be in good health today, for an example, just using myself as an example. So I want you guys to do your research. Don't be so trusting of these organizations, radios, MSDC, CBS, CNN, even Fox here and there. You want to always do your own research, and you can do that by numerous of ways. I thank you guys for tuning into this video. I'm Kaylee on the spot. Have a great day.
Trump ordered the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to end its funding of the two outlets. Trump wrote in his order, "At the very least, Americans have the right to expect that if their tax dollars fund public broadcasting at all, they fund only fair, accurate, unbiased, and nonpartisan news coverage."
NPR responded to the news, writing in a statement, "Eliminating funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting would have a devastating impact on American communities across the nation that rely on public radio for trusted local and national news, culture, life-saving emergency alerts, and public safety information.
Executive Director for Foundation for Freedom Online, Mike Benz, wrote on X, "It's obvious to the point of tautology that if more than half of the country hates your news slant, more than half of the country should not be forced